Just like some Biggie, Tupac, Big Ten, SEC beef between me and Adam. And I'd like to probably, tell you the truth here. It absolutely is. I can't stand Adam Rittenberg, and I just wanted to have him on the Finebaum Show today. Hi, Adam. Arch enemy.
Hello, Peter. I guess we have to do this, so let's get it going. No, we actually do like each other. We have some disagreements at times over the SEC, and I call it some fragility in the South over its greatness. But always great to talk with you here at Big Ten Media Days, where things are kind of wrapping up on day two. Fun to interact with all the coaches and players here in Indianapolis.
That's right. For you guys, and it was so funny. I asked earlier before you came on air, I'm like, who spoke today? And you rattled off seven different teams. I forgot. Oh, I actually forgot. Like, y'all do it over 2 different days, or the Big Ten does rather. What's been the biggest piece of news that came out today from any of the coaches that kind of were like, let me dig into this a little more?
We just spoke with Penn State coach James Franklin, and he addressed the alignment that he feels Penn State has now with their athletic director, Pat Kraft. They hired a new president. He reminded us that when he was hired at Penn State in January 2014, it was an interim athletic director. It was an interim president. They were still reeling from the Jerry Sandusky scandal, and in many ways, they've been kind of responding to that ever since, instead of moving forward fully with the commitment to try to win championships. And he feels like with this athletic director, this president, the way that they've committed to football, and he just signed that 10-year contract, as you know, back in November, they're going to be well-positioned going forward to challenge Ohio State, to challenge Michigan, to get back on this field where they won the Big Ten championship in 2016, but haven't quite reached that point since, and really have fallen off the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, and you look at that earlier today. The only thing, I like James Franklin. I did see him say he thinks he has the best tight end room in the country, and I'm like, I think the Georgia Bulldogs might have a little something to say about that. Moving forward, Adam, when you look at Kevin Warren, his statements yesterday, how well were they received as far as for those in attendance? And after that, everybody goes to happy hour and kind of speaks about it. What was the scuttlebutt?
PB, I think it was positive. This was Kevin Warren showing his value as a bold leader of the Big Ten. You're trying to match, kind of what the SEC has done. Greg Sankey, they're different personalities, very different people. But I think the way he spoke about even future expansion, the media rights deal that's coming up, that should be finalized here in the next 2 weeks or so, wanting to distance himself from the bureaucracy that in his mind has held back college athletics. And in talking to some of the coaches that he honestly had some issues with Kevin Warren, at least in how he handled the COVID year in 2020. Ryan Day telling me that there's some juice in the league now. He understands Kevin's transition and feels that he's leading from a place of power and confidence and comfort that maybe hasn't been there in the past. And so I think we're starting to see why the Big Ten hired Kevin Warren. That was a bit of a mystery for a lot of people in the first couple of years. His background in business, his background in law, this media agreement that's going to be coming up, obviously the additions of USC and UCLA. So I think it was a good public-facing day for Kevin Warren on Tuesday.
How much of the trust has been rebuilt? And we go back and look at that, Adam, during the pandemic, they all had conference calls saying we're all in this together and we're not going to make any decisions unless we agree. And then boom, he hangs up the phone and then decides pretty much on his own with the Pac-12, we're not playing football. Obviously, that didn't work out well for him. And even the trust that was lost when he was part of the alliance and they didn't have a written deal and they looked each other in the eye and that fell apart. Like, has there been fallout about that?
I think that has been rebuilt, to use your word. I think that the coaches understand now, in talking to their athletic directors, who I think have a better relationship with Kevin Warren, that he took over at such a difficult time, an unprecedented time for a conference commissioner, and that I think in rebuilding some of those relationships with the ADs, I think the coaches have fallen in line as well, and they believe in him going forward now in a way that I know they didn't after the issues in 2020, and even in 2021, in talking to some of the coaches in the league, there was more of a wait-and-see approach. What are we going to get from this guy? How is he going to lead going forward? How is he going to respond to the SEC, adding Texas and Oklahoma? I think the alliance left some people scratching their heads in this conference. I think by adding USC and UCLA, it was a bold move, a move that certainly damages the Pac-12, but one that strengthens the Big Ten going forward, putting the league in Los Angeles, along with Chicago and New York, having a coast-to-coast conference. So I think that trust is in a much better place now than it was certainly in 2020 and even in 2021 when there was just still a little bit of, I need to see something from this guy to restore my faith in him leading the conference.
Adam, one of my favorite books growing up was Choose Your Own Adventure books. I don't know if you remember those, but those were awesome growing up where you'd be like, hey, I'm in a bear in a cave or I found a treasure, right? So I'm going to have a Choose Your Own Adventure question here. What intrigues you more? The idea and reports that they want to expand, including Cal, Stanford, and some of these other teams, or 16-team playoff, which has been kind of murmured this week over at Big Ten Media Days? Choose your own adventure.
Well, I think it's always going to be further realignment because that's the topic that fascinates us to no end in college football, whether it's media, whether it's fans, even coaches and players here. We're talking a lot about that recently. But I think I don't think there's going to be anything immediate for the Big Ten. The media rights agreement is the first item. It's been on the front burner for a number of months now. Thought it was going to be finalized in June. We're sitting here at the end of July, still no announcement just yet. And I don't sense that there's going to be another round of realignment immediately after that, but it's something to monitor because at that point the numbers will be out and you'll get to see how much these schools will be getting from a yearly basis from the Big Ten. That's going to pique the interest of schools in the Pac-12. It's going to pique the interest of schools everywhere else, as a couple of coaches said. If you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten, you want to be a part of those leagues, and there's going to be some important information coming out with this media rights package that's going to attract attention from everywhere. So again, I don't think it's going to happen immediately, but the realignment door is certainly not closed.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.